Pakistan is back as the negotiator in the Iran war. After 6 devastating months of conflict, supply chain blockages, and skyrocketing global inflation, a glimmer of diplomatic hope has emerged from Tehran. Pakistani Field Marshal Asim Munir recently arrived in the Iranian capital, bringing what many reports are calling a fresh US backed peace framework aimed at ending the crippling naval blockade and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Accompanied by Pakistan's Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi, Munir held high-stakes meeting with Iran's top leadership, including President Masoud Pezeshkian, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, and members of the Supreme National Security Council. But what exactly is in this proposed deal? How does it differ from previous failed attempts? And most importantly, will Iran accept it? To understand what makes this peace framework different, we have to look at the diplomacy of the past few months. According to regional reports, this proposal is not an entirely new treaty drawn from scratch. Instead, it is a highly structured revival and expansion of the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, a 14-point framework mediated by Pakistan and Qatar back in June. That initial MOU established a 60-day window for negotiations, which ultimately expired as implementation broke down, both Washington and Tehran blaming each other for the failure. What sets this new US drafted proposal apart is the specific, staged nature of the mutual concessions. Rather than broad promises, the framework outlines a step-by-step, phased approach. The United States would initiate a staged lifting of its naval blockade and provide targeted sanctions relief. In direct exchange, Iran must fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz to international commercial shipping and unequivocally halt all military attacks by Iran-linked proxy groups. Essentially, this updated deal attempts to lock in compliance through verifiable, incremental stages, ensuring that neither side has to surrender their geopolitical leverage all at once. This brings us to the most critical question: will Tehran sign on the dotted line? While there is no formal public acceptance just yet, the diplomatic signals coming out of both camps are surprisingly optimistic. Pakistani officials described the meeting as very positive and productive, noting that a very constructive exchange took place. More tellingly, Iranian presidential office official Saeed Mehdi Tabatabai confirmed the visit was highly productive and produced significant diplomatic achievements. He even hinted that the tangible results of these meetings would become apparent very soon. However, Iran's acceptance is highly conditional. President Pezeshkian and Iranian officials have made it abundantly clear that Washington must fundamentally change its approach. For Tehran to fully commit, the US must abandon what Iran views as coercive policies and strictly honor its end of the original Islamabad MOU, specifically regarding the immediate easing of economic restrictions. With the Trump administration threatening to unleash even harsher economic measures against entities supporting Tehran, Iran is weighing its options carefully. The Iranian government has warned that increased US pressure could further disrupt energy exports. Yet, the crippling weight of current sanctions makes the prospect of immediate economic relief highly attractive to Tehran. The global stakes of this negotiation cannot be overstated. If this Pakistani brokered deal holds, it paves the way for reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which could instantly ease the massive global energy crisis that has driven gas prices and inflation to record highs over the last half year. For now, Pakistan has successfully served as the vital diplomatic bridge between Washington and Tehran. If the phased lifting of the blockade can be perfectly synchronized with the securing of the shipping lanes, we might just be looking at the beginning of the end of this war. So what do you think about this situation? Tell us in the comment section below. 6 months, 180 days. When the initial missile barrages tore through the midnight sky over the Middle East, signaling the start of a full-scale regional conflict between Iran, the United States and Israel, global audiences watched through smartphone screens with a familiar, detached sense of alarm. It was viewed as another tragic chapter in a long-standing geopolitical rivalry confined to a specific geographical footprint thousands of miles away. That illusion lasted less than 2 weeks. Today, 6 months into the conflict, the war is no longer contained to military command centers in Washington, Tel Aviv, or Tehran. It has quietly breached every border, crossed every ocean, and integrated itself into the fundamental rhythm of daily human experience. For nearly 8 billion people, distance provided zero immunity. What began as a military escalation has mutated into an unprecedented global economic fracture, permanently altering how humanity works, eats, travels, and survives. The first domino fell where it always does in Middle Eastern conflicts: energy markets. The closure of vital maritime bottlenecks, most notably the Strait of Hormuz, effectively severed a fifth of world's daily oil supply overnight. Global crude prices surged past historical levels, sending violent shockwaves directly to fuel pumps on every continent. In suburban North America, daily commutes transformed from routine trips into severe financial hazards. Families who once budgeted for weekly outings now routinely weigh the cost of filling a gas tank against purchasing essential household goods. In Europe, where energy grids were already fragile, heavy industry pulled back operations to avoid staggering electrical bills. Across developing nations, the crisis escalated from expensive to catastrophic. In regions throughout South America and Southeast Asia, severe diesel shortages halted agricultural machinery in mid-season and crippled municipal transit systems. For millions of daily wage workers, a doubling of bus fare means the difference between earning a living and staying home hungry. Energy, however, was only the opening movement. As the months dragged on, the crisis migrated from gas stations directly onto the world's dinner table. Modern agriculture relies heavily on two things: fuel for machinery and chemical fertilizers, much of whose raw components travel through trade routes now stalled by naval blockades and soaring West-West insurance rates. As fertilizer prices doubled, global food production faced an immediate structural squeeze. Grain shipments from key exporting hubs suffered severe delays due to rerouted shipping lines around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks of travel time and staggering maritime freight surcharges to basic commodities. In Milan, local bakeries watched the cost of flour double while their utility bills tripled, forcing them to raise the price of basic bread to levels unimaginable a year ago. In Tokyo, households adapted to quiet economic austerity, paring down daily meals as imported produce turned into luxury items. In sub-Saharan Africa, where households spend up to 60% of their income on food, rising grain prices pushed millions past the brink of severe food insecurity. The war in the Middle East had effectively put pricing basic nutrition out of reach for the world's most vulnerable populations. Beyond fuel and food, the 6-month conflict laid bare the extreme fragility of modern global supply chains.